Within these pages lies not a utopia sculpted from sterile perfection, but a world teetering on the precipice of chaos. Here, in Elysium, a society built on meticulously controlled harmony faces its greatest threat, not an invading force, but the echoes of its own suppressed anxieties and desires. Laura, a young woman yearning for truth, unwittingly cracks open a Pandora's box, unleashing a cacophony of whispers that twist the familiar into grotesque reflections. The shadows, once relegated to the corners of their hearts, take form, morphing into monstrous manifestations of doubt, envy, and despair. This is not a journey of conquering monsters, but of confronting them. Laura, imbued with a flickering ember of hope, embarks on a perilous quest to understand the echoes not as enemies, but as distorted fragments of Elysium's soul. She delves into the heart of the darkness, not with a sword, but with empathy, weaving a symphony of acceptance that binds the discordant whispers into a fragile melody of self-awareness. But amidst the whispers of hope, a sinister figure lurks. Silas, a master of shadows, toys with the chaos, whispering promises of a new, darker order. The lines between friend and foe blur, the echoes amplify, and Laura faces a final test: to silence the manipulative puppet master or embrace the echoes as catalysts for a transformative symphony of truth. This is not a fairy tale with a guaranteed happy ending. Pandora's Echoes is a stark reflection of our own shadows, a cautionary tale against the perils of suppressing our vulnerabilities. It asks us to confront the question, in the face of our own darkness, can we choose hope, or will we succumb to the seductive whispers of control? Prepare to close your eyes and plunge into the swirling mist, to lose yourself in the echoes of your own fears and desires. This is not a story to be consumed passively, but one that demands an active engagement, a willingness to grapple with the complexities of the human heart. Welcome to Elysium, a world on the brink, where hope and despair wage a relentless war, and where the echoes of your own soul await. Turn the page, and let the symphony begin. Chapter 1: Dawn of Innocence. Sunlight kissed Laura's eyelids awake, painting golden stripes across her bedroom ceiling. It was the same symphony of light every morning, filtered through the shimmering dome that shielded Elysium from the unknown world beyond. Here, life flowed in a measured rhythm, orchestrated by the wise guardians who ensured perfect harmony. Laura, with her hair the color of spun moonlight and eyes like warm amber, was barely past her 17th harvest, as years were counted in Elysium. Every day was a canvas of prescribed joy, tending the bioluminescent gardens, learning the elegant flow of ethereal arts, sharing laughter with her friends by the crystal-clear waterfalls. Yet, lately, a melody different from the familiar chords of Elysium had begun to tug at her heartstrings. It started with whispers, like dandelion seeds carried on the gentlest breeze. Murmurs traded in stolen glances, exchanged behind cupped hands. The outside, they'd name it, a forbidden whisper painted in shades of danger and unknown. One day, while pruning the luminescent roses, she found an old crone, her eyes like faded twilight, tending a hidden patch of untamed wildflowers. In their brief exchange, the crone mentioned a legend, a tale of heroes who ventured beyond the dome, seeking the source of the life-giving ether. For the first time, the outside wasn't just a hushed murmur, but a place of daring deeds and hidden truths. That night, as the dome shimmered with constellations Laura had never named, the first seed of doubt sprouted in her heart. Chapter 2 Could paint with bolder strokes, introducing Silas, a character ripe with contradiction. Here's one possibility. The dome pulsed with an alien rhythm the night Laura snuck onto the platform overlooking the shimmering barrier. It was a rare moment of defiance, fueled by the crone's whispers and the gnawing itch of unanswered questions. As Laura stretched out a tentative hand towards the energy that hummed at the boundary, a voice startled her. "Beautiful, isn't it?" There he stood, bathed in the dome's glow, Silas. His emerald eyes sparkled with an otherworldly mischief, his grin a wild crescent against his sun-kissed skin. Unlike the polished citizens of Elysium, he wore clothes of rough spun fabric, and his hair, the color of storm clouds, fell untamed around his shoulders. In a hushed voice, he spoke of the world beyond, painting stories with his words. Sun-scorched deserts where sand whispered secrets, star-studded nights uncluttered by the dome's artificial luminescence, and the raw, untamed power of the elements. Silas claimed to be from the outside, a wanderer who slipped through cracks in the barrier. He hinted at secrets the guardians kept, of whispers of rebellion rumbling beneath the surface of Elysium's harmony. Laura, her sheltered reality cracking at the seams, drank in his tales like forbidden wine. He offered glimpses of forbidden books tucked away in dusty corners, whispering of a history erased, a world before the dome. Their meetings became stolen moments, snatched between lessons and chores. In hushed tones, Silas painted a world beyond the sterile perfection of Elysium, a world of chaos and beauty, of freedom and struggle. He challenged the very foundation of her existence, the guardian's benevolent control, the orchestrated joy. Laura, torn between her ingrained loyalty and the alluring whispers of possibility, felt the seed of doubt bloom into a thorny vine. Chapter 3 Prometheus's Spark. One evening, amidst the orchestrated twilight of Elysium, a tremor of unease snaked through Laura. The guardians, faces etched with uncharacteristic grimness, ushered in a delegation cloaked in the shadows of the outside. They bore a solitary chest, crafted from gleaming gold, its surface etched with swirling patterns, and an inscription that chilled Laura's blood. "Echoes of Pandora." The guardians, in hushed tones, spoke of a prophecy, a whisper from the distant world beyond the dome. The box, they claimed, held the seeds of both chaos and hope, a Pandora's echo threatening to disrupt the carefully woven harmony of Elysium. Yet, their fear seemed oddly tinged with fascination, a tremor of forbidden desire mirroring Laura's own burgeoning rebellion. Drawn by an invisible thread, Laura found herself gravitating towards the box, its golden surface humming with an otherworldly energy. Silas, who seemed to materialize from the twilight whenever whispers danced on the wind, appeared beside her. But he also spoke of a flicker of hope, a fragile flame that defied the shadows. As Laura traced the inscription, the golden surface pulsed against her fingertips, a silent conversation only she could decipher. It was a siren song, tempting her with forbidden knowledge and the thrill of rebellion, a promise of answers to the gnawing questions that haunted her dreams. With a heart thrumming like a hummingbird's wings, Laura felt the spark of Prometheus ignite within her. The guardian's warnings became a challenge, the inscription a whispered invitation. The seeds of doubt, nurtured by Silas's tales, blossomed into a fierce curiosity, a yearning to know the truth hidden within the gilded cage. The echoes of Pandora, both terrifying and alluring, whispered a promise Laura could no longer ignore. Chapter 4. Temptation's Whisper. The gilded box pulsed in the hushed library, a beacon in the sterile room lined with pristine scrolls. Laura traced the inscription with trembling fingers. Echoes of Pandora, the words seeming to brand themselves onto her skin. Beside her, Silas, a shadow against the artificial twilight, watched with a knowing glint in his emerald eyes. They fear it, he purred, his voice smooth as quicksilver, for it holds the whispers of a world unseen, of a life unchained by their suffocating control. His words resonated with the growing rebellion in Laura's heart, the seed of doubt now a thorny vine twisting around her loyalty. He spun tales of forbidden knowledge locked within the box, stories of vibrant landscapes untamed by the dome, of emotions raw and unfiltered, of choices and consequences unfettered by Elysium's rigid order. He painted the guardians not as benevolent protectors, but as keepers of secrets, denying their people the vibrant tapestry of human experience. They call it Pandora's curse, he scoffed, but what if it's a blessing? A chance to shed their manufactured harmony and embrace the chaos, the beauty, the very essence of existence that they hide behind their shimmering dome? His words were arrows dipped in temptation, each phrase igniting a fierce ember of defiance within Laura. He challenged her, not with violence, but with a seductive whisper of freedom. They hold you captive in a gilded cage, Laura, he murmured, afraid of the wild wings you were born to stretch. The box is your key, your chance to claim the sky. As the twilight deepened, Laura looked at the guardians, their faces etched with disapproval and unspoken fear. Her heart, once content with the lullaby of Elysium, now thundered with a rebel's rhythm. In that moment, the choice wasn't between good and evil, but between obedience and freedom, between a life orchestrated and a life embraced. With a shaky hand, Laura reached for the lock, the inscription burning on her palm. The weight of the decision was a crushing stone, but the whisper of defiance within drowned out the tremor of fear. With a click, the gilded cage yawned open, unleashing a storm of shimmering mist and a chorus of unspoken echoes. Chapter 5. Pandora's Touch. The dome bled scarlet as the night of the blood moon descended upon Elysium. It was a night cloaked in forbidden whispers, a stage ripe for rebellion. Laura, her heart a hummingbird trapped in a gilded cage, felt the echo of defiance roar within her. Alone in the forbidden library, the echoes of Silas's words, freedom, knowledge, unchained life, danced in her head. She stood before the box, its inscription burning into her palm. Echoes of Pandora. With a resolute breath, she traced the lock, the metal cold against her trembling fingers. This is for a world beyond these walls, she whispered, more to steel herself than anyone else. Her hand, guided by a mix of defiance and a flickering flame of hope, grasped the clasp. The click resonated like a thunderclap, shattering the sterile silence. The box yawned open, not with a groan or hiss, but with a sigh. From its depths, a shimmering mist erupted, swirling with 1,000 luminescent hues. It pulsed with an alien energy, tendrils of light slithering across the pristine floor, twisting around Laura's legs like ethereal serpents. A chorus of whispers, like dry leaves dancing on the wind, filled the air. Some were soft, beguiling promises of forbidden pleasures, others harsh whispers of doubt and fear. They swarmed around Laura, a cacophony of voices clawing at her sanity. Within the library, shadows writhed on the walls, taking monstrous shapes fueled by the echoes. Fear threatened to drown her, but the seed of hope planted by Silas, fragile yet tenacious, held firm. This, she realized, was not just Pandora's curse, but also her blessing. It was a mirror reflecting Elysium's hidden cracks, the fears and desires suppressed behind their facade of harmony. As the mist bled out of the library, engulfing the sterile corridors, panic spread through Elysium. The guardians, faces contorted in a rage she hadn't seen before, materialized around her, demanding she contain the unleashed echoes. But Laura stood her ground, a beacon of defiance amidst the swirling chaos. "This is the price of truth," she cried, her voice echoing through the halls. "We cannot hide from our shadows forever. We must face them, understand them, and only then can we hope to build a true harmony." With a flick of her wrist, she flung the box lid shut, imprisoning the remaining echoes. The mist subsided, leaving behind a stunned silence. Laura stood amidst the wreckage, a lone figure bathed in the blood moon's crimson glow. She had touched Pandora's box, unleashed its echoes, and forever changed the face of Elysium. Chapter 6. Eden Lost. Dawn broke, not with the usual symphony of birdsong, but with an unsettling silence. The shimmering dome, once a shield of protection, now felt like a brutal cage trapping them in the ruins of their utopia. The echoes, no longer whispers, had taken form, tangible manifestations of Elysium's deepest anxieties and flaws. In the crystal-clear waterfalls, paranoia bubbled like dark algae, distorting reflections into monstrous caricatures. The bioluminescent gardens, once vibrant with laughter, were choked by creeping shadows, whispering doubts that sapped joy like a poisonous bloom. Even the usually stoic guardians, their polished smiles shattered, lurked in hallways, gripped by fear of their own dark reflections. Laura, the architect of this chaos, walked amidst the wreckage, her heart a leaden weight in her chest. The thrill of rebellion was gone, replaced by a gnawing guilt, and the crushing weight of responsibility. She witnessed friendships dissolve into jealous accusations, the seeds of dissent sprouting like weeds in the carefully cultivated harmony. In the council hall, once a bastion of logic and reason, arguments devolved into screaming matches, accusations flying like poisoned arrows. The guardians, their power waning as the echoes amplified the citizens' fears, struggled to restore order. Every attempt at control backfired, fueling the growing paranoia that twisted logic into warped shadows. Elysium, her beloved home, was unraveling at the seams. The echoes, born from its own suppressed fears, had become a monstrous mirror reflecting its vulnerabilities. Laura, the girl who yearned for truth, felt the sting of regret. Was this the freedom she had craved? Was this the price of knowledge? As the sun dipped below the dome, casting long, distorted shadows, Laura retreated to the forbidden library, the scene of her fateful choice. Among the scattered scrolls, she found a single, flickering inscription. Hope! It was a faint ember amidst the ruins, a silent defiance against the encroaching darkness. In the silence, Laura made a vow. She would not drown in regret. She would not let the echoes win. She would find a way to harness the chaos, to guide Elysium through the storm, to emerge into a new dawn where hope, battered but not broken, could light the way. Chapter 7. Glimmer in the Ash. The ash of doubt choked the air, settling on Laura's throat like bitter dust. Every corner of Elysium, once a haven of shimmering perfection, now hummed with the discordant echoes. Yet, amidst the storm, a single ember flickered, a whisper of defiance etched within the heart of the chaos. Hidden within the gilded box, nestled amongst the swirling mist, Laura had found a parchment, a solitary note untouched by the shadows. In scrawled, ancient script, it held a single word, a lifeline in the churning sea of fear: hope. It was a small ember, a fragile defiance against the encroaching darkness. But for Laura, it was a beacon, a promise whispered from the ashes of her regret. Hope. Not a naive return to the sanitized perfection of their old life, but a chance to forge a new future, woven with the threads of truth and the resilience of the human spirit. Armed with this newfound courage, Laura stepped out of the library, the echoes parting before her like startled shadows. She sought not to silence them, but to understand. With her newfound resolve, she delved into the heart of the chaos, into the twisted corners where anxieties bloomed like monstrous vines. In the bioluminescent gardens, she encountered the gardener, his trembling form consumed by the spectral image of his past mistakes. Laura reached out, not with platitudes, but with honesty. She confessed her own flaws, her own doubts, and spoke of the power of forgiveness, of facing the past to mend the present. Slowly, like a wilting flower basking in sunlight, the shadows around the gardener receded. He began to tend the once neglected roses, his trembling hands guided by a renewed purpose. The echoes, though not banished, no longer held the same power over him. One by one, Laura navigated the tangled paths of fear and doubt, her empathy a thread weaving through the darkness. She spoke to the elders, their hoarding hearts weighed down by shadows of greed. She reminded them of the joy of sharing, of the collective spirit that had once nurtured Elysium. The transformation was slow, fraught with setbacks and whispers of despair. But with each small victory, the embers of hope grew brighter. In the council hall, where arguments once echoed like poisoned arrows, Laura's voice cut through the noise, offering not blame but understanding, not control, but a path to heal. The echoes remained, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks within them all. But they were no longer masters, only echoes. Elysium, battered and bruised, began to show signs of a new dawn. Laughter, though cautious, mingled with the air. Gardens, tended with trembling hands, whispered of renewed life. And Laura, the catalyst of this chaos, became a symbol of hope itself. Not a ruler, but a guide, a testament to the enduring human spirit that can find light even in the darkest of ashes. The journey ahead was still uncertain, the echoes a constant threat. But now, with a flicker of defiance in her heart and the mantra of hope on her lips, Laura led Elysium towards a future not of sterile perfection, but of honest humanity, a dawn sculpted by the shadows and illuminated by the tenacity of the human spirit. Chapter 8. Journey of Echoes. Elysium pulsed with a restless energy, its once pristine streets a labyrinth of shadows and whispers. Laura, cloaked in the defiance of hope, set out on a perilous pilgrimage. Her quest, to trace the echo's source, to understand their chaotic symphony, and perhaps find a way to mend the fractured harmony of her world. Her first path led to the Whispering Falls, where crystal waters now churned with murmurs of doubt and discontent. There, she encountered a group of children, their laughter lost in the swirling mist. The echoes, twisting their innocent fears into monstrous creatures, sought to drown them in terror. Laura stepped forward, not with force, but with a song whispered from the wellspring of hope. It was a melody of trust, of acceptance, of embracing the shadows within. Slowly, the mist parted, the creatures dissolving into wisps of fear. The children, faces painted with wonder, reached out, their fragile laughter a counterpoint to the echo's despair. With each step, Laura unraveled another thread of the chaos. In the blighted gardens, she faced the gardener, his once gentle hands now clawed by shadows of self-blame. But beneath the despair, she found the glint of his forgotten passion. Together, they nurtured a single, defiant bloom, its fragile beauty a testament to the resilience of hope. Silas, a phantom lurking on the periphery of her journey, offered cryptic guidance. His emerald eyes, ever watchful, held secrets in their depths. He spoke of an ancient power, a darkness older than the dome itself, a force that orchestrated the echo's song. His words, shrouded in riddles, fueled both suspicion and a flickering hope. Could he be an ally, guiding her towards the source, or was he playing a more sinister game? The path twisted and turned, leading Laura through forgotten corners of Elysium. She braved the shimmering caves, where echoes of greed morphed into shimmering illusions, tempting her with promises of forbidden knowledge and boundless power. She navigated the echoing woods, where whispers of past mistakes morphed into predatory shadows, seeking to drag her down into the abyss of regret. With each challenge, Laura's resolve deepened, her hope becoming a shield against the encroaching darkness. She learned to dance with the echoes, not to silence them, but to understand their melody, to recognize the fragmented reflections of Elysium's own unfaced truths. As she climbed the treacherous cliffs of despair, overlooking the shimmering dome, the landscape stretched before her, a tapestry woven with light and shadow. In the distance, a whisper on the wind, she glimpsed a swirling vortex, a maelstrom of darkness at the heart of the echo's symphony. Laura stood at the precipice of revelation, the weight of Elysium's future a mantle on her shoulders. The source of the echoes lay within reach, but so did the potential for unimaginable chaos. With a deep breath, she steeled her nerves, hope a flickering torch in the gathering darkness. The journey for truth, she knew, had just begun. Chapter 9. Echoes of Lies. The shimmering vortex pulsed before Laura, an inky maw swirling with the cacophony of 1,000 whispers. In its depths, she sensed the source of the echoes, the puppet master pulling the strings of Elysium's chaos. Greed, a towering behemoth adorned with stolen jewels, roared of insatiable hunger, its shadow consuming all it touched. Despair, a wisp of shadow woven into the shape of a weeping willow, whispered of futility, its tendrils wrapping around Laura's heart. Yet, as Laura faced these monstrous forms, she saw through their grotesque facades. She recognized the seeds of their birth, the envy festering under the guardian's control, the greed hidden behind the facade of perfect harmony, the despair born from suppressing individual desires. These echoes, she realized, were not simply unleashed evils, but distorted reflections of Elysium's own flaws, shadows cast by their enforced utopia. With a newfound understanding, Laura stepped forward. She met envy with open arms, confessing her own insecurities, her own moments of jealousy. She challenged greed with words of generosity, urging it to share its burden. And to despair, she offered a song of hope, a melody spun from the resilience of the human spirit. As Laura spoke, the echoes pulsed and shifted. Envy's fangs dulled, replaced by a curious glint. Greed's towering form shrunk, revealing a child seeking validation. Despair's willow branches grew brittle, the whispers turning into soft, mournful sighs. The more Laura confronted their darkness, with honesty and empathy, the less power the echoes held. They were not enemies to be vanquished, but fragments of themselves begging to be acknowledged, understood, and finally integrated. In this revelation, Laura saw the path forward. Silencing the echoes was not the answer. It was facing them, embracing their truths, and using them to mend the fractures within Elysium. The echoes, she realized, were not harbingers of doom, but catalysts for change, a crucible forging a new, more authentic future. But as the echoes wavered, revealing their vulnerability, a figure emerged from the depths of the vortex. Silas, his emerald eyes blazing with power, stepped forward, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Foolish girl," he sneered, "these echoes are mine to command, and with them I will remake Elysium in my own image." With a wave of his hand, the echoes surged, their monstrous forms twisting back into a maelstrom of darkness. Hope, Laura's flickering torch, threatened to be extinguished. The choice before her was stark: face an enemy wielding the raw power of Elysium's darkness, or succumb to the chaos she had unwittingly unleashed. Chapter 10: Symphony of Hope. In the swirling heart of the echoes, where shadows writhed and whispered threats, Laura stood defiant. Silas, a predator emerging from the mist, sneered, his laughter echoing like shattered glass. "You sought truth, little moth," he hissed, "but all you found was your own destruction." But Laura felt no fear, only a steely resolve. She had delved into the darkness, embraced its fractured reflections, and emerged with a symphony of understanding. The echoes, no longer monstrous predators, were a discordant orchestra, each instrument playing a melody of Elysium's unacknowledged desires. And she, their reluctant conductor, held the baton of hope. With a voice clear as a mountain stream, Laura began to sing. Each note was a thread, woven with empathy and acceptance, binding the disparate echoes into a coherent harmony. Envy, its poisonous whispers fading, joined in with a lament of insecurity. Greed, its grasping shadows receding, harmonized with a yearning for connection. Despair, its weeping willows reaching for solace, echoed with a melody of vulnerability. Silas, his control slipping, roared in fury. He unleashed storms of darkness, attempting to drown out the nascent symphony. But Laura, her voice rising above the chaos, resonated with the collective yearnings of Elysium. The Guardians, their rigid facade cracking, joined the chorus, their voices hoarse but sincere. From the bioluminescent gardens, where shadows had choked the blooms, rose a chant of renewal. From the council hall, where arguments had poisoned the air, emerged a melody of forgiveness. From every corner of Elysium, shattered voices blended into a song, their imperfections weaving a tapestry of raw, authentic beauty. The symphony of hope swelled, engulfing the darkness. Silas, his power waning, recoiled before the rising tide of self-acceptance. He hissed, desperate, but the tide was turning. The echoes, no longer his puppets, embraced their reflections, integrating their shadows into the whole. The vortex of darkness, the heart of the echoes, pulsed one final time before collapsing inwards, imploding upon itself. In its place bloomed a shimmering dome, not of manufactured perfection, but of raw, human potential. Standing beneath it, Laura raised her hands, tears glinting in her eyes. Elysium, scarred but empowered, stood on the precipice of a new dawn. The symphony of hope, though fragile, lingered in the air, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, forged in the crucible of self-confrontation. But the journey was far from over. The echoes, integrated but not silenced, whispered of challenges yet to come. Laura, however, no longer feared the shadows. She had learned to listen, to understand, and to lead with a melody of hope, guiding Elysium not towards a fabricated utopia, but towards a future woven with the threads of its own, unapologetic truth. Laura succeeds in integrating the echoes, not silencing them. Elysium embraces a messy, chaotic harmony where shadows and light coexist. But the ripples of the echoes spread beyond the dome. News of their rebellion and the echo's nature reaches other utopian societies, sparking unrest and questioning. Some societies crumble under the weight of their suppressed truths, while others adapt, seeking new paths to coexistence. The ending leaves us pondering the butterfly effect of individual actions, the fragile interconnectedness of societies, and the ripple of rebellion across generations.